We should have a post show to this show. Dagan can do it.
I was going to say, go for it. I'm out.
Now, what up? We are back. I'm in a fucking loft. I hope my internet holds up. I can't guarantee it will, but I'm here still. What's up? We are here. We are live. There's nobody watching us, but a few of you probably on the replay. So thanks y'all for that. Yeah, it's been a crazy couple weeks here in the the land of So-Dagan Wrestling, and yeah, I think we should start by getting the shitty news out of the way first, and then we can talk about some good stuff. So this happened, interestingly enough, the day after AEW Grand Slam. We got the first WWE announcement of the day was that the Elimination Chamber will be taking place in Australia. So that should be a big show there. And then I guess timing wise, maybe not so great. Emma posted that she was so excited to be wrestling in her home country, and then just a few hours later, well, I guess I won't be.
Yep.
And that of course was because of several WWE roster cuts that occurred over the course of Thursday and into Friday as well. A couple more names coming out there, but I guess we don't have to maybe go through the full list, but we can at least talk about the sort of the bigger names that popped up that I certainly
know, the ones that don't leave people going who.
Yeah, and one I think that was very surprising. A lot of people figured this guy would be a WWE lifer, and that's Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah, that's actually number one on the list here.
Yeah, aka Nick Nemeth would probably be his name wherever else he goes. But yeah, no, he definitely seemed like a guy that really.
But you know what? He's made his money, in my opinion. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Because he's consistent in ring work, pretty damn good resume. Fortunately, he didn't really get the push to the top that he deserved, especially earlier in his career. But when he finally hangs it up, he's going to be right away in the Hall of Fame. I think he earned it.
Still one of my favorite ever Money in the Bank cash-ins.
Oh yeah, that's after his release. That has been replayed everywhere, and that is easily one of the loudest pops you'll hear for a title win.
Yeah. So all the best of luck to old Nick there. I kind of want to see him go to AEW just because of how mad it'll make everybody, especially if like him and his brother winning maybe they beat FTR or something like that would make me laugh.
Well, somebody was saying like, could you imagine Dolph Ziggler selling a V-Trigger?
Yeah, right. That's another thing people were. That's another thing people were saying about him is that he's one of the best sellers in the business right now.
Oh, 100%. Look at the way he sold Goldberg.
Yeah, so that was one of the more surprising names for me. Probably one of the bigger names, but like a couple other that sort of stuck out. There's like Elias. Was one. Obviously, Emma. Emma's been in Impact. I feel like both of them would be really good for Impact. Impact, I feel like, is going to pick up a few of these sort of stragglers.
Mustafa Ali is one of them, and I want to see him in Impact. Everyone's saying AEW. I think he'd actually have a better time. I think it would be better for him in Impact.
Which one?
Mustafa Ali.
Oh, Mustafa Ali. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. Him in the X division would be really something cool to watch. But maybe he's one of those guys that does like Impact, New Japan, and then eventually goes to AEW.
Maybe.
But you know, Brian Alvarez, I think, had a good point. I don't always agree with him, but his point was that AEW like doesn't necessarily need to pick up any of these guys, like because they have such a stacked roster already that it's almost better if they didn't, you know. And I was kind of thinking about it earlier that like Matt Cardona and Steph DeLander are proof that guys can go to the indies and still be a huge deal and not wrestle in any of these and just do indies. So I feel like that's an option now more than I'm not saying that like an Elias or whoever would like a huge deal in the indies. Like those things, they're not going to be like, Cardona or Delander, but like I'm saying that the option is there. You got a guy like Sami Callihan recently that was in the news that he is leaving Impact Wrestling at the end of this month, which kind of another sort of surprise to me. I feel like he was had become an Impact guy, like one of their big guys, but he's another one I could see could make a big deal on his name, just wrestling indies. Like he doesn't need to go to AEW or WWE. I actually don't think he'd be a good fit either place. New Japan maybe, but
he could fit.
We'll have to after we finish talking about the cuts. I'm going to bring up New Japan again because I saw a thing that's probably just wild rumors on the internet, but I want to mention it. So, any other names that sort of stuck out to you? I know there was both roster cuts and also NXT cuts. I didn't really recognize a lot of the names on the NXT roster because I don't really watch that show. But
there's really only one that I recognize. Ike Manjiro. I recognize him because from the early days of NXT 2.0. People were actually surprised by that one because apparently he's very popular in the house show loop, and he always gets the responses and people liked him. So that one was a little bit surprising from there. But yeah, Dana Brooke was also cut. Not surprised.
Dana Brooke, another one I think would be great in Impact in the Knockouts division.
Yeah. Mansoor and Massey were both released, and I hear their Twitch streams about shit that went on WWE are hilarious.
I saw a clip of it on Botchamania. It was great.
Yeah. Rick Boogs, which people were surprised at.
I don't know where he's going to end up. That's an interesting one.
Riddick Moss.
Yep. Also, the husband of Emma, we mentioned. Both of them back at Impact.
They're engaged. They're not married.
Oh, okay. Yeah, whatever.
Top dollar.
Yep.
Of Hit Row. Shelton Benjamin.
Hey, if AEW picks up anybody, it's crazy to say, but like the Hit Row thing with Swerve or with Prince Nana and that whole group, that could work.
Tabakato was released as well. And
massive giant. I saw him at a indie or an NXT house show years ago.
I believe
God, that guy's so tall.
Aaliyah, who has been not been seen in like a year.
Impact.
Maybe. And then that's about it for like names that you would recognize. And of course, the big one days later,
Matt Riddle. Yes. That one I think was maybe for other reasons. They were kind of just looking for a reason to get rid of him. There was some drama at the airport recently where he claimed he got like sexually assaulted. It's like, come on, I don't know.
The report is that man has already burned a lot of bridges.
Yeah. Although Meltzer was reporting earlier that that there's a couple different MMA companies that are interested in bringing him in. So maybe that's so that could be a very likely landing spot for him. I could see. I think he's kind of done with pro wrestling, at least for a while. I don't know if anybody's going to want to hire him.
And unless he does like the indie thing like Cardona and just, he's the only one on that list that potentially could.
Yeah. So that's pretty much all I have about the cuts and everything. Yeah, I could see a few of these guys, maybe a couple here or there in eventually going to AEW, but I think Impact's a good landing spot for a bunch of them, New Japan potentially. But speaking of New Japan, we have a big show coming up this weekend with Wrestle Dream, which is almost kind of another forbidden door. There's a lot of, not as much like AEW versus New Japan, but it's a big tribute to Antonio Inoki, who obviously, and there's, this is big rumors that I read earlier, but apparently Tony Khan has another major announcement at this show. And I feel like a lot of this is just people speculating. And I don't know if there's anything to back this up, but the one maybe theory that I read earlier today is that Tony Khan is going to purchase New Japan Pro Wrestling and add it to his infinity gauntlet of pro wrestling companies along with AEW and Ring of Honor. And I'm like, man, I really kind of hope not, because he's already doing way too much. And like, unless he just keeps it as is and lets Gato run everything like it has been.
Or has a twin that we don't know about.
Yeah. Or like put somebody else in charge of this and don't try to book everything yourself, because like I don't know, man. Tony Khan buying another fucking wrestling company. That's the big announcement that he's purchased New Japan. I don't know. What do you
I
think,
think
Soda?
that is a wild rumor, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there would have been a sniff of something on the internet if New Japan was willing to sell.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's been known that the pandemic kind of hurt them quite a bit, and business is not very good. It's nowhere near like what it was, but I don't know if they're struggling that much. Like Ring of Honor went completely under before Tony Khan bought it. Like I haven't seen any evidence that New Japan is like about to collapse or anything anytime soon. So I don't know. That seems pretty wacky to me. I feel like the Tony Khan big announcement is that it's going to be the debut of Edge. That would be my guess if I could have any kind of theory. Because the report was that his contract was up at the end of September and the pay-per-view's on October 1st. So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So that's my own personal guess, but again, you'd think it would be like a surprise, like at the end of the 2 out of 3. There's a 2 out of 3 falls match with Darby and Darby taking on Christian for the TNT title, who just won it after he beat Luchasaurus. The whole thing.
Officially the TNT champion now.
Yeah, and you'd think that maybe Edge debuting after, like, it's some fashion after that match or something would be the way to go, as opposed to Tony Khan coming out and be like, my big announcement is we've signed Adam Copeland, like I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Sorry, they got the Shinsuke.
Soda's he's deep in thought over there.
Yeah, well, no, they're doing the segment right now with Seth and Shinsuke. It looks like they're announcing the stipulation for their match.
Okay.
And because Shinsuke's doing these pre-tape promos with freaking subtitles.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, that's like, I don't know, the majority of the big news, I guess, to talk about here. As Soda is trying to pull double duty and watch Raw at the same time as we're doing the show. Last
man standing match.
Oh, I've heard that before.
Yeah, well, Shinsuke stepped in the last man standing match with a heel Shinsuke. Not bad.
I seem to remember a pretty good match with AJ Styles in WWE. It was like their matches were kind of underwhelming to what I think a lot of people thought.
Was in the past.
Yeah, but I seem to remember the last man standing being pretty good. So, yeah. But hey, look, I got to attend Grand Slam last week. Right in the middle there, right in the front. Like if you see the guy in the front row opposite the hard cam, not on the floor, but like right up in the stands, as you can see there behind Soda, you see the sign.
Yeah.
It's
quickly remove us so the folks can see.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah. So me in the green shirt there, right in the middle. That was
Yeah, you couldn't see a shot without Dagan's face rubbing it in.
The weirdest part for me was that, like, because so a lot of times we were still like pretty level to people on the floor. So if everybody stood up on the floor, we kind of had to also stand up in order to sort of see what was going on. And there were times like where it was tough to kind of see what was going on inside the ring, or if there was a spot on the outside. So a lot of times I found myself looking up because they had the big jumbotron. Yeah. So a lot of times you see me like kind of look up, and it was so weird because there'd be so many times where I would look up and I would see myself looking up. It was just the weirdest like mirror image kind of, like kind of shit. So that was pretty wild. We definitely for the first Grand Slam, our seats were like a little bit up to the left a bit. We were, I think, like 4th or 5th row in the stands, and this time we were like right in the front of that section there, that middle section. And so it was definitely like more of a crazy experience. And we actually, during Moxley's entrance, he stood right in front of us at one point. There's an awesome angle.
A picture or a video?
Yeah, I got a video of it. I'm going to be putting together a vlog. I just haven't had time to edit it or anything yet, but I'm going to be putting out a vlog with some other shots. It's really, really cool. So that was awesome to do that, and to get the Alvarez Fierce pork chop sign in front of everybody. There was some. So Craig of the Brian and Vinny and Craig show tweeted out something along the lines of, "Whoever brought the Alvarez Fierce pork chop sign, your check is in the mail."
Nice.
And I sort of replied to it, and somebody tweeted Brian about it, and he was like, "The person who made that sign will pay." That was his tweet. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, man, it was a great show. I feel like it's gonna be tough for them to ever really top that first Grand Slam. Kicking off with that Kenny. Man, the Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson match that went to the time limit draw. And just the fact that was 22,000 people or whatever, that people were.
And then you had
we were looking at
Saraya's first match back.
No, Saraya debuted last year.
That's right. You did Grand Slam, the first match was the pay-per-view. Right.
Was the Full Gear, yes. But the first year, I mean, it's going to be tough to replicate that. Like this year and last year, I think they had about half the size of that crowd. Last year was 13,000. This year was about 11,000. They've jacked up the ticket prices, so that certainly doesn't help. But the fact that we were looking at it and comparing it, and they had a good chunk of the stadium sort of blocked off, whereas that first year there was really barely an empty seat in the house. It just people packed to the brim all the way to the top, back of the rafters, all the way around Art Thrash Stadium. Whereas this year, there was a bunch of sections sort of blocked up, but it was still a really good crowd. I thought the ticket sales were not going well up until the day of, or the few days before. They did a whole big
MGF did a lot of promo rounds, and apparently that spiked it.
That spiked it a bit, and they had the biggest walk up in company history. So that was pretty. I think they moved I don't know, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 tickets the day of, which was really crazy impressive for them to be able to do that. So yeah, it ended up being a much bigger crowd than I thought there was going to be. But yeah, no, it was a really great show. There were definitely some highlights, like Eddie Kingston winning the Ring of Honor title as New Japan Strong titles as well as that champion. So he's got both belts now. That was great to have him have his moment. In front of the home crowd.
Words where he just does this with the titles. You're like, oh, this is fucking dope.
Yeah, no, that was really awesome. And somebody sent me a GIF of somebody else finished the story before Cody, kind of thing, which just makes me laugh. Especially because his debut, great Eddie Kingston's debut was against Cody Rhodes, so there's a little bit of irony.
Contract, yeah,
a little bit of irony in that one. Great to see Eddie have at least a run as some kind of world champion. I'm not sure if he'll ever win the AEW World Championship, but
you know what? After some thought, I don't think he will. But
I think this was a good maybe not consolation prize
too. So
yeah. And then speaking of Eddie Kingston, there was some news that came out that he sort of stopped doing indies. Yeah, and he got a lot of shit for that online. I was seeing people were not very happy, Eddie hit the big leagues or whatever.
He had an appearance booked, and that's how they found out.
Yeah,
but he's also back injury as well.
The nature of it, it's kind of okay, I can see why. I mean, he's in his 40s, and he's got health issues, a history of health issues. So it's less wrestling, probably the better.
Right now, he came out and said that. So
yeah. So I totally get it. Speaking of injuries, there were a couple pretty big ones on Grand Slam. The Moxley one was weird, especially all that going down live. I had no idea that he had a concussion as early on.
Nobody did. Apparently, it happened. There's a dive that happened at the beginning of the match. That's where it happened. A lot of people thought he got dropped on his head.
No,
right before the match.
He got dropped on his head twice, which is not good at the end of the match. But the way it all kind of went down, and we didn't know this as it was going, as it was live. I can't even believe it was crazy. Oh wait. To go back and watch it and go, oh my God, he was concussed during this whole thing. Yeah. And you would know, nobody would ever know.
And the only reason if anybody peeked on something was up was because Frey Phoenix won the match.
Yeah.
Nobody was what?
So the way it all went down, the dive that Soda is talking about, Ray kind of lands on Moxley with his the full brunt of his sort of this whole part of his body. And you can tell, like, after that, Moxley's like, winded. But they're able to wrestle through the match. And then when they get to the finish, it was supposed to be an audible, but Rick Knox fucked it up. And Phoenix drops Moxley on his head, basically, with the pile driver.
The first one,
Ref is supposed to count the 3, but he just counts 2, even though Moxley's shoulder is clearly down. So the fans start to turn on. At that point, it was like, wait, okay, something's wrong here. It was very, very reminiscent of the Mercedes injury from earlier this year, where the ref counts 2, even though it's clearly supposed to be an audible for 3. You can see Moxley, like if you go back and watch it, he kind of looks at Rick Knox and he goes, "Fuck you." It's kind of crazy. And then they have to do the spot again, and then he counts the 3, and Phoenix wins the title. And like, it was great to see Phoenix have a moment like that, especially in front of that crowd. But you can tell, like, and myself included, I immediately went, okay, something's off here. Moxley must be hurt. And so,
that's
sure enough,
that he got got dropped on his head, and something's up here.
And like, as it all happened,
power.
Right. So that was the thing. Like, there was all these reports coming out that he was hurt, kind of all, and you could clearly tell that was what's going, because all the doctors went into the ring and the cameras were sort of focused on Phoenix and other stuff going on, but they were really like worried about Moxley. And then, yes, he eventually got to his feet and walked off, and you could tell he was clearly fucking pissed. Like, he was not happy about how it all went down.
Apparently, Renee was fucking furious.
I'm sure. So, the injury update sense is that he's fine. So they don't know like the extent of it or how serious it is yet, or like when he'll be back or anything like that. But it does sound like it's not like an awful situation. So not like Adam Cole's injury from last year or anything like that. But speaking of Adam Cole and injuries, he does this like kind of move to do the run in towards the end of the Samoa Joe MJF. By the way, that Samoa Joe MJF main event. Holy fuck, that was awesome. Great. I would say every match on this show was very good to pretty damn awesome.
Joe is the perfect opponent for a babyface MJF.
Yeah, he really, really is. I'm really hoping we get Jay White at some point too, because if they keep this MJF babyface thing going for a little bit longer, and they don't have him turn on Cole, or maybe they have, like, a lot of people I think are now saying are leaning towards Cole probably turning on MJF.
I've been on that train since
I know you have. Yeah. So you can say you were right when all is said and done, potentially here. But I think the turn might happen at Full Gear if Adam Cole. So they haven't announced anything with Adam Cole with the injury yet. It seems like they're very, like, there's been no reports from anybody in AEW. And their match is still advertised for Sunday.
And I was going to say, yesterday, he also accepted a challenge for an indie show.
Yeah, and there is a MJF and Adam Cole segment booked for Dynamite. So I feel like we'll find out a lot more on Dynamite. Like, if that ends up being, I'm hurt, I got to relinquish the titles, then they'll kind of go from there, I'm sure. But I think we'll at least find out what's going on with Cole during that segment, or whether or not they do some angle and write him off. I don't know. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. But it did sound like it might be pretty serious. I mean, you can see when he goes to do his run-in, he dives off that freaking ramp, which is way more elevated than their ramps usually are at Arthur Ashe Stadium. And he clearly, like, landed on his, ankle wrong and tweaked it up. And he was trying to do the best he could to, like, avoid limping, but he was clearly hurt. He had to go to the hospital afterwards, apparently left the hospital on crutches. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I fucked up my ankle before, and it ends up just being like a bruise, and it's like feels really awful at the time. But then a day later, I'm back, like, walking around like nothing, and just had to ice it for a bit. But if he had to leave the hospital on crutches, I don't know. That's a little worrisome to me.
It could be anything.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see on Wednesday. But
a challenge on the indies, so that maybe it's not as bad as we thought.
Yeah, but the rest of the show was really, really fun. They taped Rampage in kind of a weird order. They taped a couple matches. They taped the Santana squash match against Bear Bronson, or whatever his name is now, and then the angle with Ortiz.
Yeah,
they taped that first.
Good idea to do.
Yeah, so last year, I think a lot of people were complaining that like the Rampage part of the show went so late that people didn't get out of there until like close to 1 o'clock in the morning.
Holy shit.
This year that was like 12:15 or so, I would say. So shortly after midnight, we were able to all get out.
Not too great, but still not too bad.
But it was smart, instead of just taping a couple random dark matches, to tape a couple of those Rampage matches before the show. And like, have you ever been to a show and you watch like the pre-shows when people are still kind of filing in, but then like by the end of it, the closer you get to like the 8 p.m. start time, the more like fired up people get. Yeah. And so to have that kind of crowd heat for that, so they taped the Santana match, but then they also taped the mixed tag with Best Friends and Orange Cassidy, or Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Statlander against the 2.0 and Anna Jay. And the crowd was really hot for that match, like by the end of it. So yeah, it aired in a weird order. They also oddly taped the main event with all the fireworks going off for the Elite winning the Ring of Honor Trios titles before the Acclaimed match. So we got the back-to-back Trios matches as our kind of double main event. So all the fireworks went off and everything, and it was like, felt very much like the end of the show, but there was still the, there's
more.
Yeah, so they taped that, and then they taped the match with the Righteous winning the. So it was in a very weird order, the way that it was all taped, and the whole show ended with the Acclaimed and the Impractical Jokers scissor party. Which was a lot of fun. I have that clip on the channel here if you guys go and watch it. But yeah, so Rampage was a very good show, like much better than it normally is. I think this is usually looked at as the biggest Rampage of the year because it's extended for an extra hour. And
when they big show, when they tape that Rampage there, usually it is pretty good.
Yeah. The Arthur Ashe Stadium Rampage show tends to be pretty damn good. So I don't know if the ratings have come out for it. I'd be interested. So yeah, okay. So I mean the same old like shit number that it usually does. It did 341,000 viewers at a 0.12 in 18 to 49. So the 2 hour with all the special stuff happening and the Elite winning and all that stuff didn't really seem to do much to boost that number. So that's kind of interesting. Rampage is just still kind of still Rampage. People are gonna skip it, and especially now with Collision being a thing.
Yeah,
it seems like people are more inclined to just kind of skip over that show. But we had a big return. We had Kenny Omega returning, and we had the Elite winning the Trios titles, and it was a very, very fun show, despite the fact that nobody watched it. So there you go. But people stuck around. That's what's cool. Is like I've been to a few of these AEW / Rampage shows now where they tape Rampage after Dynamite, and usually like a pretty good chunk of the crowd leaves. Like it reminds me of like 205 Live back in the day when they used to tape that after SmackDown. Like everybody would leave, and there'd be like the hardcores would stick around for Mustafa Ali versus Buddy Matthews or whatever, But yeah, it was nice to see that people. Both times that I attended Grand Slam, because I went the first year, didn't go last year because I got COVID, but went this year. But both times, I noticed that the crowd sticks around for like pretty much all of, like, I would say by the end of the last match of Rampage, there's still probably a good 8,000 people out of the 11,000 left. I would say somewhere around. I'm just eyeballing it. I would say somewhere around that number. So people do stick around. So that's pretty cool. That it's the one Rampage I've noticed where like the majority of the fans don't leave. So
it's treated like a big deal. That's probably why.
Yeah. And it was great too. After they went off the air, I did get a clip of this as well that I haven't put out there yet. But MJF was like, "Hey, where the fuck are you all going?" Because like people started. A lot of people get up like in between to go use the bathroom or get a drink or something too.
That reminds me that clip of the Bret Hart tribute. Did they play that in the arena?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good.
That was amazing.
Phenomenal.
Just the fucking best.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Adopted.
MJF, man. Fucking love that guy. He's just the best. He's just absolutely the best. Douchebag. Our scumbag. Yeah.
Our scumbag.
That guy signed.
He's a real life Stifler. There's more leading into the pool.
I saw somebody, I think it was Tranquilo Club, put a video out about MJF recently, and they said that that's the best comparison I've heard for sure is Stifler from American Pie.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, so we're gonna do kind of a shorter show today. Do you have anything else before we get out of here? Anything happening on Raw that we should know about?
Not really. It's in commercial break right now with the North American title match between Dominic Mysterio and Dragon Lee. So
Vince coming in and changing everything last minute, I'm sure, tearing up the script. I told you all that was happening.
Oh, frig. Actually, while we're on, give me a second. There was a great Twitter thread earlier about times that's happened from wrestlers that are no longer with the company. It's fucking great.
Oh my god! Was that the one with Lance Storm where he's talking about how he didn't even have his gear or anything, and the Vince show he was booked for a segment, but Vince showed up and was like, you know which match I would like to see would be Lance Storm against I can't even remember who he wrestled, but
let's see. So
I'll just go to Lance Storm's.
Yeah, I'm on the thing because there's some really great retweets.
Yeah. So, let's see. Oh my God, Lance, why do you tweet so much? My God, some of these guys are just addicted to Twitter.
But there's one Armando. You remember Armando Estrada?
Yes.
So he had one where at Summer Series 2007, Vince scrapped a dark match in favor of a brand supremacy promo battle between the GMs. Me, ECW, and Vicky SmackDown. I was sitting in catering when they told me I had 5 minutes to get dressed and head to the ring.
That's just crazy. Yeah, so Lance Storm's story here is that he says at a WWE house show where he was booked only for a promo, Vince arrived during the first match, and he said, you know what match I'd pay to see? Lance Storm versus Eddie Guerrero for the U.S. title. Put that match on next. And he says, Lance says, my gear was still in the car, and I wasn't even booked to wrestle. So Vince McMahon has been doing this for years and years and years, everybody. This is nothing new, but maybe just more rampant these days as he gets more old and senile.
Here's another one. This one's from Dax, Uncle Dax himself, okay?
Okay.
Because, me and Cash were supposed to be the main event of SmackDown at MSG with Randy versus New Day, 7:30. It's changed to a tag match, us versus Woods and E. Right at 8, changed back to the 6-man. 8:20 changed to no matches, just a big brawl between Kofi and Randy. Live TV, MSG.
Oh my gosh. See, this is the thing. The more shit people give Tony Khan, the motherfucker doesn't do that. He doesn't okay, it's Samoa Joe and MJF for the title tonight. No, actually, it's going to be Joe and Jay White against MJF and Adam Cole. No, he sticks to the card. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's
all this because Mansoor confirmed something that Sean Ross Sapp got shit for reporting a while back.
Yeah. Well, there you go, everybody. I don't really have much. You got anything else, Soda, before we get out of here?
No, that's that.
I hear you're doing some stuff with our buddy there, 50 Shades of Geek. I need to put I need to get the poster back up here, but I got to put that up for one of your shows one of these days. Is the giant geek sign that I have? Maybe I'll just maybe I'll just mail that to 50 over in Israel. Hey, I got a present for you. It's just the giant geek sign.
Yeah. No, we're just supposed to do a show for his Doctor Who show. That's really about it. We're supposed to record that. Okay. And I got pushed because it's right now 4:30 in the morning in in Israel. Tomorrow. So
there you go. They're in the future.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, that's pretty much going to do it for us here today, everybody. We got a few new subscribers from a couple of the shorts that I posted, but a lot of stuff on the channel. We're adding content on a regular basis. We're only at 50 subscribers, but we've also only been around since May. So May, June, July, August, September, 4 months, 50 subscribers in 4 months. Hey, that's not bad. I know people probably aren't watching these shows as much, but some of the other stuff on the channel has been doing pretty damn well. So I'm very, very happy with that. I think we're off to a pretty good start. At least the shorter form content has been crushing it. So good stuff, Soda. And I don't know when we'll be back. We're kind of all over the place with the schedule, but you know what? We do the show when we feel like doing the show. So
pretty much.
Until next time, everybody, we'll talk to you again soon. Cheers.
Ooh, ooh.